Good evening. I want to welcome each and every one of you here, and hopefully, you had a wonderful Juneteenth for those who celebrate Juneteenth, as well as happy Father's Day to those fathers and daddies. And there's a big difference between the two. But we want to welcome each and every one of you here. And then, as always, we're going to have a great show for you. And we got a lot of things that we're going to be talking about tonight. We got a special guest that's going to share his story and his experience. And definitely it's something that I think you will be very interested in hearing. In the meantime, as always, we're going to crank this thing up and we're going to do it in traditional style to make things happen the way they happen. So let me kind of shut down the music here, and hopefully you are ready to rock and roll. Let's hit it.
To everyone tuning in, let me ask you, why the big secret concealing it from the mass view? UFOs circled in the sky, still get no reply. I think it's time for truth seekers to rise. Hands up if you're feeling how I'm feeling.
All right, now let's
Spread
get
the
working.
truth and start revealing, knocking down the doors of the big secret keepers. Truth seekers coming through your speakers. What?
All right, so I want to welcome you to Forbidden Knowledge TV. I'm your host, Roderick Martin, and this is Tuesday night. We're here every Tuesday night for those who may be new, and let you know at 8 o'clock at this time. So, as always, you could have been any other place tonight, but you chose to be right here, right now. And with that being said, I like to take the opportunity to bid you good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you may be in the 24 time zones that this show is aired. And so, as always, I like to try to give that big promise when I do talk about this thing. And most people don't know, but if you didn't, I'm located in the jumbo state. And I always say this is where those UFOs come out to play because it's a Texas thing. And y'all is our word here in Texas. So, but anyway, we got a show. We're gonna talk about a few things tonight, and also just give you a real true glimpse into an individual's life and how he has dealt with one of his experiences and or two of experiences as he's had. And the gentleman that I'm going to bring up is a UFO researcher and experiencer, and he has witnessed at least two encounters with non-human entities. And in one of those encounters, he saw the entities themselves, and then as well as another, he saw their craft. So we're going to go over that story tonight and just kind of go into what actually happened, and as we go down the questions and let him share his experience and stories. As always, as most of you knew, and as you can see here, we always talk about Project Black, which is the Black League of Alien Contact Knowledge. And one of the most essential parts of this is to try to reach the stories within the African American community as well as the indigenous community, because there is a point today where there is disproportionately representation as well as stories. And really, it's because not creating that safe space where people can come forward to do that. We get a lot of knowledge here on Forbidden Knowledge TV, and definitely my goal is to bring more people out so we can put them in the vortex, and that vortex then brings them right over here to get that higher knowledge. But in the meantime, I'm going to serve as the ground soldier, and in my crew, my team, and all of us, as we're going to round those people up in the best way, in the most loving way, so that they feel comfortable in sharing their stories here, and that's what we're going to do. So once again, I just want to thank each and everyone. So let me get the story on the road. Let me get Marquise in here with us. All right. Don't hear you much, but you got your volume on. You ready?
Yep, I'm on. It should be on.
All right. Okay. So we'll get started here in just a second. This is Marquise, and I'm gonna first start out by saying to him and to all of you that it takes a lot of courage to come into a situation to where you're going to talk to the camera and you're going to talk to people that you literally can't see. You can't see their expressions. You can't see, and that's probably either a positive because you just never know how people deal with stories and stuff. But at the same time, Marquise, I'm just letting you know I'm proud of you being here. I am aware of your story, but the fact that you not only have joined the collective on the side of the fence as a researcher and investigator and all those things, but the fact that you have now decided to share your story. And you and I talked about Project Black, and we talked about how essential it is to really reach the community. And I've been getting emails after emails after emails of people sharing their intimate stories, saying that now there is a place that they feel comfortable coming forward. And so, from a professional side, then we'll get into your story. What do you think about this initiative, and where we're going with this?
Honestly, I wish when I was younger, this would have been a thing because I needed something like this. So it's a good thing that it's happening at all.
Yeah.
And maybe it did. Maybe I just wasn't aware of it, But for myself, professionally, knowing that. By the way, what's up, chat? I see y'all. Everybody saying what's up, fam. What's up, fam? Um, I appreciate the welcome, the warm welcome y'all are giving me. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think we need it because I never even knew that it was a Black experience too, right? When
Okay.
I grew up, all I thought was that it was just something that happened to white people. And I know I'm not trying to sound racist or anything like that, but just from my perspective, I didn't know. And when I got older and then I had an experience, I realized, no, this is happening to all of us. It's just a human thing. It's not just a
Yeah.
white thing. And you look at culture, it's historical. So it's definitely just everybody's dealing with this. So here in the US, it's good to know that we're doing something like this, that you're doing something like this. And it's good to be a part of it in any way, including
Yeah.
just sharing my story.
I appreciate it, because you hit a couple of things right there that, yeah, there oftentimes people will think that it was just a white thing, and generally it's not, because it was just the fact that if it did happen, especially in some of the hierarchy of our families and religion and all those things, it was
Right.
just kept a secret. I mean,
Mhm.
we're just not going to talk about it. In fact, some of those conversations probably wouldn't even happen because people still couldn't wrap their head around it, to explain it to
Right.
someone.
Right.
Nevertheless, to get out and just have a water cooler, conversation. And so my initiative and of course the tagline is just start the conversation. That's all we want to do, if we can get everyone out. And what I'm afraid of is that the big secret keepers have already initiated that policy. They're already bringing things out. And one of the things that, even the other day with Dr. Greer bringing all of that information out, which
Right.
I thought was just out of this world, phenomenal and great.
Yeah.
And I still believe that I have not heard any of his stuff filtered down into our communities of radio, TV, and all those things. So why is that, is the question. And of course, we always understand that the how is never as important as the why. And so we have to always try to dig deeper. But we're going to focus on you tonight. We're going to focus on your story. And as we kick off our other things on the behind the scenes with Project Black, we'll get to that answer. We'll try to figure out, why is it not filtering down when it should, because there is a segment of a population that need to be conditioned for the big reveal as well. All right, so let's get started here for a little bit. We know that you had an encounter. You had several encounters. We'll start with the first one there, and let's go with. I know you said that you witnessed. Let's go with we're going to start with the craft. Now, this is two different ones. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
That's
Okay,
right.
and so let's just start first with the emotional impact of that. What emotions were you feeling during this experience, and then how did it shape your perspective on extraterrestrial life?
Those are actually really good questions. And nobody asked me how I felt, right? They usually
Yeah,
say, "What happened? What did you see?"
we'll
Uh,
get to that, but
yeah.
I just
So
want to start with
that's
it.
a good
Yeah.
question. Let's talk about that because I think it's really important. For me, I didn't watch Close Encounters and like ET and all that stuff till I was a little bit older. I didn't have like, television and there's a lot of things I didn't have when I was a kid, that I did when I got older. So I didn't even know what these things look like or
Okay.
wasn't exposed to any of the technology or the beings or nothing like that. I mean, I've heard of it, but I didn't know it. And so I felt more curious than anything. Like I thought that I still think to this day back to why wasn't I afraid, especially the first time, right? Why wasn't I scared? Why didn't I run? Why did I just stand there? And I don't know. I can't even imagine in my head. I can't think of why that was. But every time I think back, I just feel like I was overtaken with curiosity, like in awe, like what this is real. This is real. This isn't
Mm.
like I'm not dreaming. I knew I was awake. I knew I was there. But the feeling that I had, the most dominant feeling was that of curiosity, just wonder, amazement. And I always think back to like hearing stories now that I look back of like, and I mentioned this to you before, like Whitley Strieber, you know, that wasn't pleasant. If y'all don't know about Whitley Strieber,
Yep. Yep.
you don't you don't want that, right? So when I look back, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, like I'm glad that it was that versus the Whitley Strieber type stuff, or Terry Lovelace, who, if you ever heard of that story, man, the terror and the fear, and even after that, right? They didn't have a negative perspective on the phenomena,
Right.
even afterwards. But I still felt like it was important for, for me to take this experience as a learning experience. Like this is something I need to understand.
All
So
right.
just
Keep
again
talking. I'm
wondering.
gonna grab a book right here, but keep
Yeah,
going.
sure. Sure. Um, so what's up, chat? I guess I'm on the show right now, huh? No, I'm just kidding. I'll mess with y'all. It's good to be here, by the way, and I see everybody in the chat. It's really nice. The Souls Vibe, what's up? I remember you from being on the panel the last time, so it's a
Yeah.
pleasure to see you in the chat again.
Yeah, what I did, I just reached behind me when you said Whitley Strieber. I just wanted to kind of get the
Union.
audience. He got a couple of books, but and oftentimes we talk about the difference between good and bad extraterrestrials, and of course his story is they raped him,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and it wasn't a so you guys might want to check that out in one of his stories. But like you said, it didn't happen to you, and think
No,
you
I
know,
don't think anyway. I mean, I
you
hope
right. Well, okay.
not.
Definitely if you don't feel that twitch. All right, listen. Can you describe the impact that it had on you personally, including any effects on your daily life? And then we're going to get into relationships next.
I honestly, nobody asked. These are the kind of questions that I like you think about, but nobody asks you them.
Well, you know what? And the reason you're getting it this way is because I understand what's happening.
Yeah,
And that's reason Project Black exists, because so many people is focusing on what's going on in the sky. They're not focusing on the individuals on the ground. And that is our whole point. It's time to not only trust the witnesses,
yeah,
but if we're going to get a collective understanding, we got to then ask people these questions. No different than when I was married and you're fussing
yeah.
and you ask the significant others, how did it make you feel when I said what I said? And
Hmm.
once you get that answer, it ain't no more argument. It's okay. I'm not trying to defend a position, and I'm not going to defend how you felt about this experience. So again, just kind of describe the impact that it had on you personally, and then the effects on your daily life, and then we'll move into relationships.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I've heard people say to me a lot of times is like, is the phenomena. Whenever you're impacted by it, it changes you. Like it changes you. There's a transformation that you go through.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like I started to wonder about my place in this world. Like, why am I here? What am I doing here? What's the point of all this? And I know there's more. Like, there's so much more going on than the rustle and bustle of everyday life, than the hustle, like trying to make money, trying to survive, and like obviously I started to become more aware of like human conflict, the day-to-day human conflict, like seeing my family and friends, how they interacted with each other, and wondering why we weren't more compassionate. And I realized that there's a lot of people in pain. This is the stuff that went through my mind, man.
Yeah.
And the pain that we feel is why we react the way that we do towards others. There's a saying that I keep talking about throughout my life: hurt people, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought about. I know this sounds irrelevant, but I'm telling you, this is the thing that changed me. I had to stop and I looked at the world very differently. I wondered more because if this happened to me, what is going on? We get up, we eat, we go to school, we do that. At the time I was a kid,
Mm,
no, this is not life. There's something else going on here. And I want to know what's going on. And it set me on a journey. I read all the books in the library that I could get my hands on, science books, this, that. What's the nature of life, right? What's going on with our ecosystem? What's going on with how does life work? And psychology and philosophy and biology, everything that I possibly could get my hands on as a kid. I studied these things. And then I got into mindfulness, meditations and all that stuff. That's what it did to me. It changed me. It vastly changed my perspective about my place in this life.
Wow.
And
Well, I think, it's one of those things that it changes everyone who's involved,
yeah,
from the people who are directly in the mix of it and the people that are surrounding these individuals in life. And so for you, this is now this happened exactly what the first one. What age were you?
so I think I was like 14 years old. That's when the first encounter happened. Yeah.
Okay. So at this point now, as a young man, uh, emotionally, now that you have this secret in the
Mhm.
dark, so to speak, that you
Yeah.
just can't really bring to light, what was that journey like?
So that's again, this it's odd. These are interesting questions. I feel like I'm answering them for the first time because nobody asked me these questions. So it's like, and you mentioned about relationships too. We talking about that because maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but
Oh, we'll get to that because
yeah,
now you're a full
yeah,
grown man. You're a full size man, and
I'm a
I've talked to
well,
men that this has
full
affected. But
size.
let's start there. Let's go with the kid. We'll get back. We'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that I think is probably the important effect of that experience was it happened right after my dad died. My father
Mm,
had passed away when I
sorry to
was
hear
third.
that.
Hey, it was something to this day. I remember the last, and it's not necessarily irrelevant because I had a dream after he passed away, and it was him. He died from a drug overdose, but he was an awesome. Of all my dad was one of the coolest people you ever met. One of the nicest human. His funeral was like a party. Like there's so many people there that I
Yeah.
never even knew they knew him, and I just remember thinking like, man, I wish I could have talked to him before he died. Just talk to him, just say what's up. And so I had a dream before this happened where I was in this. There was like this carnivore something going on in town, and I saw a bonfire going on, and I walked down to the bonfire, and my dad was there, and he was like, "What's up, boy?" And he had a can of, he had a beer in his hand. Always had a beer in his hand, and he had a beer in his hand. He was like, "What's up, boy?" I was like, "Dad, it's you. Like, what's up? Like, what's up? He's like, come on. And I came inside with him, and he started talking to me about life, teaching me stuff, telling me about like secrets about the universe. I don't remember any of them, none of them. I remember nothing. But that's the experience after I had my experience, that's the thing that really helped me look at that and wonder, is there a connection to the afterlife? Like, is this phenomena connected to like what happens to us when we die, consciousness, the
Mm,
thing about art, like that's what really got me thinking about the idea of what persists after death, what part of us continues after death. And I studied this phenomena in my life now, and as an adult, as a researcher, there are other researchers that think the same thing, that there is a connection between this phenomena and life after death.
I agree with
And
you.
so to me, I feel like one of the biggest revelations that I got was that I think that there's like we're being woken up to something here, y'all. This is not like, and it shouldn't be exclusive to just one specific portion of the population. We should all be, benefiting from this learning experience. Whatever this thing is we're supposed to be learning, we should all benefit from it, which is why efforts like what you're doing are so important. Because you mentioned it not filtering down this information that's being brought out by Greer and stuff, not filtering down to our community. Why? Why? Like, no, that needs to be. There's something that we need to know here, y'all. Like, we need to pay attention to
Now
this.
we know our community is mostly controlled by the religious community,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
therefore, you know, it's going to have a lot of blockage in a lot of cases. And like I said, you got people like Billy, and then other folks who are working with Greer, and all of us collectively is going to try to filter this stuff out there. But like I said, I think he did his job. He called
yeah,
a press conference and then
yeah,
laid out the receipts. But then at the same time, like I said, you got your religious institutions, and I call all of them big secret keepers. It don't matter
yeah.
government, religion, people, everybody who falls into that. So my question for you will be, what was your religion growing up, and how did that affect this thing?
Oh man, I try to stay away from the religious. I'll tell you. It's your show, right? It's your show, so I can talk about it. But
you know what?
yeah,
You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get. You just won a Project Black T-shirt right there. I'm gonna mail
That's
this
what's
out
up.
to you.
Hey, that's what's up. That's
There
what's
you
up.
go.
Make yeah,
You
make sure
be
it's the right
the
size.
best
I'm
of them all.
a
Well, no, I got you. Tell me, that size. We got them all. We got them all here. Oh, they can be found on our website, by the way. But
I'm gonna check
anyway,
it out. I'm gonna
but
check it out.
not you. But no, I'm you earned yours just for
All
that
right, cool.
statement.
Bet.
Let's get back to religion.
So I grew up Christian, right? I think
Okay.
my grandmother was Baptist or whatever. I can't remember the name of the AME. No, AME Methodist, African Methodist or whatever. It was a black church. It was a small black church, and every Sunday, grandma didn't play. You going to church, boy. And so I went to church, and good and bad, and there was a lot of indoctrination, of course. I paid no mind. I didn't pay any attention to it at all. I heard it. I didn't hear nothing. It wasn't until after that experience that I actually started reading the Bible. I read it like 2 or 3 times after that experience because I wanted to, again, truth, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the religious text from the Muslim. I wanted to know who got the answers for me, right? Mormons,
Yeah.
which they ain't got the answers, by the way. We were bad Mormons on Planet Kolob. If you black, you are a bad Mormon on Planet Kolob. So like, I just couldn't find it, but like there were kernels of something in them, and I felt like, is this the same? Like, I feel like there's a connection between everything here, because humanity is. I mean, we've been around for a while, right? And there's been a lot of cultural changes and religious movements in all culture. I grew up Christian, but like that ideology is different around the whole world even today. Christianity isn't the same even amongst Christianity. There's like thousands of denominations. Like, what's going on? What is truth, right? Truth is what Jesus said, not denominations. Truth is what Buddha said, not the Buddhist traditions. Truth is what, Gandhi said. You want to find truth, you got to listen to what the truth tellers have been saying. That's how I feel. And again, this is just my perspective, right?
Okay.
And
So,
yeah.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's pretty much it. I could ramble on about that all day long.
Well, yeah, and I didn't want you to because yeah, that's I have to kind of like guide the ship back in, and
Yeah.
then the chat will be like beating me up. He cut him off, and
no,
they're
I ramble, trust me.
when it comes to that. But they're not in the command center here.
That's right.
You know what I'm
Commander in
saying?
Chief, right? I know what's up.
Yeah, you know you do a show, so you understand.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so did you ever have conversations with Jesus about this event?
No, I mean, I haven't. I don't know where to put that in. Where to put that. Like, I'm still not sure, even to this day, where to put that. Right. So, like, for example, I still hold true to the Christian belief system, still to this day.
Okay.
But where do I put that in place of all the other things that are happening? Because there are other religions, y'all. Like, you got to be aware that I'm a human being with my perspective, but there are other human beings that are far smarter than I am that have a completely different perspective from a completely different religion. Are they wrong? What are the commonalities is what I want to know. And I think that there's a thread. There is a thread that links us all. I believe that. Doesn't mean that every religion is right. I'm just saying that there's something in everything that we need to be looking for instead of looking at the division, the things that divide us. What makes me different? What makes us the same? That what is it that connects us all? The things that these people have told us. And that's what I think is important.
I think that question has been asked for eons, right? And we're to a point now that, I don't even know if anybody even cares anymore. We're all into our own cups, and we're going to drink from those, and pretty much. Marquise, you're a full-grown man now, and obviously at this point, most would think this happened as a child. So, now you're a grown man. You can care less. This don't emotionally bother you. You can just walk around. It's not even. It just fly off like duck feathers.
No, not exactly. I'm gonna tell you about that too, but not exactly.
Well, let's go into that a little bit because what I'm finding talking with people with Project Black is that this carries a long time, and it's a heavy burden because it's the unexplainable. It's the mystery, and then it boils all the way down to that one freaking question: why me? All my conversations gets down to that. I already know where it's going to go. It just funnels. and I have to touch with people on that level because that's the ultimate question. Why me? Because now you're thinking, am I special, or is there a message? Do I have a journey for the world? It's this big old thing. But don't let me explain it. You go ahead with that.
So, there is
You
some,
okay? Ain't nobody watching but me and you. If
yeah,
you get emotional, I got some
yeah.
little stuff here.
I got my napkins over here in case I start bawling.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be real with you though. Let me just be real with you, okay? So the reality is, to this day, there are nights where I don't sleep because
Okay.
I'm
Thank you
terrified.
for being. Thank you for
Yeah,
being open with that. Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna be real with you. Like I'm not gonna play anybody. There's no sugarcoating the phenomenon. Just so you guys understand, there is there is a spectrum of the phenomena. Clearly, there is a side of it that is angelic in nature and beautiful and wonderful, and you get to talk to them. Some people even get to ride their craft. This stuff is being talked about by people. You can't ignore it. You can't ignore
Yeah.
that people are talking about literally riding the craft. And Whitley Strieber mentioned something to the effect of like having some real conversations with the beings. There's one experience he mentions often about being this lady, this real big human being or looking thing that was massive woman, but wasn't human. And he had a conversation with it.
What a
And
girl, man.
it's weird. It's weird. There's a lot of people that have positive experiences as well, but there is a dark side. Just to be real with you, I'm just gonna be honest with you, and I think that's what I think the concern is by the government, for example. The people that are controlling the information, they're concerned. But when it comes to me, I still have sleepless nights, y'all. Like there are nights where I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'm not gonna let them get me this time. Like they're not gonna come in my bedroom and I'm not. I just want to face them. I want them to tell me why. Tell me why me. Why? What are you doing here? Like, what's the point of
Yeah.
this? If they're gonna come into my house, invade my privacy, come into my bedroom without my permission, and terrify me with their big heads and their big black eyes, and look me and say stuff in my head, I want to know why. Where you taking me? Why did you take me? Why did I lose 4 hours? Don't just leave me with no answers, right? Because I'm gonna tell you, I could have been placed in the middle of the ocean with bleeding to death with a group of sharks, right? And I wouldn't be as scared as I was when I saw those beings. You know what I'm saying? It's not all positive. So, but I don't again, that's what I'm saying is for me, I still have sleepless nights to this day as a grown man. As a grown man.
I mean,
So
don't. I mean, listen. I'm telling you, it don't matter if you 5'1" or
no,
6'8" with grizzly bear arms. This terrifies the best of them. And even when Greer had his thing, and you see the Navy SEALs swimming ducks, you see the best of the best and the finest of the finest teary eyed because
yeah,
these experiences are real, and they typically, because you can't, there's not a place, you're not going to go take a pill for this,
no,
you're not going to go sit down and shrink. It's just going to get into your head and you wake up like, oh, I feel better now. It's something that's embedded deep within the individuals that are dealing with these things. And like I said, now it begs the question for us to ask the beings why, or because I said I don't ever focus on the what and how anymore.
yeah,
Forget that is just as simple as it's going to get. But that why is where we go with why the big secret. It's why we ask those questions. All right, so you are in a relationship,
yeah,
you know being the man of the house. How do you relay this to the woman that this man has weaknesses? You get what I'm saying? How do
yeah,
you say, hey, if a bear come in here, call me. But if they come back, I'm in the closet. I gotta go. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do you deal with that?
That's a good question. So like, and I think these are important questions because people need to know if you're having this experience, these are the kind of things you need to be thinking about too.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're asking them because I feel like people need to hear from a perspective of somebody who's experienced it too. So let me just tell you how me and my family deal with it. We try not to talk about it too much because honestly, the if you think about the phenomenon, it is again, it's big. It's bigger than like it's bigger than anything that you can imagine. It's we're talking all of human civilization's issue here. All of us. How do you condense that into a digestible form for your family? Somebody
Right.
like my lady, she she cooks, she cleans, she does all the things, right? How do I tell her, oh, by the way, let me tell you what I learned about, this study or that study, or this is what this person believes about the aliens or that person. Or
Mm,
David Grush said that there's malevolence involved with it. Like, do I want to scare my family with some? Because there's a lot of things to be concerned. The government can cause earthquakes, as the Greer event said, they can cause earthquakes if they wanted to. They're hiding technology from us that could save all of our civilization. They could eliminate all of our fossil fuel energy dependency. They could probably cure a lot. How do I have that conversation with my family?
yeah.
Can't. Now, when it comes to the experience that I had and the fear that I experienced, I have told, she obviously knows about it. She listened. She listened to me. She accepts that it's something. And then sometimes she asks me, like, what do you think they wanted with you? And I don't even know. Or
Yeah.
I ask her to, like, ignore it. Like, please don't pay attention. But tonight, I feel like something's wrong. So just be aware. I'm not going to sleep tonight. So just be aware. I'm up with the light on doing research because I'm concerned. She just doesn't pay attention. She'll ignore it like it doesn't exist for me. And I know she's thinking about it, wondering if I'm okay. But like those nights where I'm afraid, where I'm terrified, she will do me a favor by not looking at my weakness, because I don't want her to see. I know she knows it, just don't look at it right now.
Yeah.
So that's how we deal with it as a family. My kids, I don't even want to talk about it. I try to joke with them, keep it light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, and you're okay. Like I said, you're in a safe place.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that I always like to hit home on, because there are a lot of people that are in relationships. And I look back on my relationship when I was married. It's a long time ago. A few months back. Not a few months, a few years, 4 years.
I was like, what? It's only been a few. Man, that's rough, brother.
I know, right? Boy, just message you up here. Been there and done that, got the t-shirt. But what I'm saying is, there was a time in my home that I could not talk about, extraterrestrials, and I had an encounter as well of seeing a craft. Now, I didn't have the experience that you're going to get deeper into in the show here, but you know, I could never talk about it. Now, for a moment, I felt, here's somebody that's not really supporting me, because I took it personal for a moment. It wasn't until later on when I started diving deeper into it, and then, okay, you got the mask of religion, you got people's experiences. She wasn't, had nothing to do with me. She just could not understand it. And I remember distinctively sitting out in the car one day and going, because there were some stepchildren involved, and she was like, don't show my children, these things, because I'm watching Ancient Aliens, I'm watching all of this stuff. And I remember one day sitting out in the car and I said, well, being the man of the house, okay, if this is bothering the she-wolf, that's what I called her. By the way.
You brave man. Good to see you still alive, brother.
Yeah. So, well, she was some good days, and then when she turned to that wolf boy, it
Yeah,
was
I know. I
on.
know. Sure.
So anyway, so I was like, okay, so do I be a good man and protect the she-wolf and say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna stop talking about this.
Right.
And our issues already had issues along the way. So we ended up separating, after that. Okay. And then ended up getting a divorce. But I was pregnant. And when I'm saying pregnant, not only with what is happening now, the idea, the concept to serve humanity, people, and boy, what was a baby, because right after that, I'm in 10 different TV shows. The one that she complained about the most, that I will watch all the time, Ancient Aliens, I got a check from them. I'm in their show. Who would have thought that I'm sitting as a regular guy watching this thing every day, not knowing the impact and the priming that was being done right there, and whatever that higher force was and is, and there had a plan. And I'm not saying the divorce was part of it, probably, but if I was still married, I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't have talked to thousands and thousands of people. I wouldn't have interviewed 400 people I've done on Clubhouse, all the things touching this, and all with the steps of going into this thing, not having to talk to anybody in my family, none of my friends, nowhere, and to start going online to find one person, then two, and say, when I joined Clubhouse, I need to get 30 people that I can talk to, because it was an emotional thing. and now that turned into 30,000, right? It's so that's when I realized Houston, we not only got a problem,
Yeah.
but how can we create this thing for people to come into? Okay, so back to the relationship side. So have you ever talked to her, and have she ever talked to you about how does she explain you to friends and family? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Because
she thinks,
that's another part of the fence that
yeah,
we don't think about. Yeah.
she thinks the world of me. Like, I mean, she thinks that I am. She thinks that the alien stuff, right? She calls the alien stuff is like
Alien stuff.
wild.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
she thinks is wild, right? Oh, she jokes and says, "Yeah, he talks about aliens too for his job." And I'm like, and honestly, I'm like, yeah, I talk about aliens and stuff just to help, just kind of break the ice with people. Um, However, you know, I think that for her, it's easier to talk about it by distancing herself from the emotional aspect.
Mm,
How does it affect her? She doesn't talk about. She
okay.
just lets it be a thing that I do professionally.
Okay.
Just she just puts it out there. Another thing is like her parents are very religious Christians, right? Very, very
See
religious.
that's why I was layering it out, saying it just
Yeah,
don't go beyond with this relationship. It goes past that because they always said whoever you marry,
yeah,
you're marrying their everybody's,
yep,
right?
yep, yep,
And you're marrying their ideologies that they come with within the family. So with her, obviously, is her family Christian as well? You said that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So now she's going to come in with this thing, and then you're coming in with this, and then the man that she met, obviously, it wasn't an interview when y'all first met, and you said, "Hey, baby,
No,
hey, how you doing? Oh, by the way, I got this encounter. This is something she had to find out one
no,
night that you
yeah,
sitting up and going, what's wrong with you? And now you got to tell her.
yeah. I had to charm her before I told her about the aliens, right?
But why is that though? Why
No,
can't
I
we?
just,
You,
yeah.
but you get what I'm saying though.
That's
Why is this can't be part of our everyday dialogue? And this is what I'm trying to accomplish is start that conversation. So
well, I mean, it's been a
what do you
stigma.
think?
Yeah, it's been a stigma. Like the government literally, it's been. By the way, M. Walters 5. I hear you. Like I get that. I get that. By the way, but anyway, it's been a stigma. The government has literally created a stigma through disinformation campaigns, as well as ridicule throughout history, throughout the 80 plus, at least now, maybe even 90 plus years of
Mhm.
the phenomena our government being involved with the phenomena. And now, as we know, the Five Eyes, right? Canada and Britain and all that, and Australia. Now we know that they've been purposefully trying to ridicule people and the topic so that we don't accept it as a part of everyday life, common tongue. It's okay to talk about politics and things that make people go violent, but let's not talk about aliens.
Yeah. That was where I was going to go next. Have you
Yeah.
faced any challenges of skepticism regarding your story,
Oh
and
my
have you
gosh.
dealt
Yeah.
with this, and how has it affected your determination to uncover the truth?
That's a good man. Again, you got some good questions here, brother.
Man,
Um,
these are the
this
questions
is
that were designed for Project Black, right?
yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Because this is where we got to ask this
Yeah,
internal question, and I'll get deeper into that for the audience. And I hate making this disclaimer for people who are maybe not a person of color. It has
yeah,
nothing to do. You are still
yeah.
included because
Right,
it is just us as a community
right.
turning our focuses as a collective to an area to where we need to get some of these stories out. Because one of the
Yeah,
things I do know is most of some of the history, a lot of these people about to transition
right.
or already has, or these
Right.
stories are being disconnected. And although I know they're the young people, and you're in your what? How old are you now?
30. I'm 35 now. I just
Okay, so
March.
you're young, young. But anyway, but you're
The
still you're
some.
there.
So, yeah, not
You're
to
there.
my Twitch channel. I'm an old guy to my Twitch channel,
Yeah,
but
but the whole point is I always say that one of my sentiments is that some of our younger folks are religiously and emotionally bankrupt.
yeah,
Number one, because the system that they were taught is not working.
mm,
And not that it's not working for them. They have
right,
visual impact that it didn't work for my parents.
right.
And it's not working for the grandparents. And I think a lot of people knew this. It's why
Mm,
they start saying when you get to heaven, you're gonna get your mansion because you ain't gonna get it here. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
don't worry, just keep doing what I tell you, you'll get your mansion
You
when you
go
die.
get it when you get to heaven. And the
Mhm.
other side of that story, you get to heaven, and it is a bunch of stuff there. And you go, what's all this? This is the stuff on earth that you didn't ask for,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
you didn't think you can have it or whatever. So that's a whole nother story. But let's go into skepticism and all of this. This is your story.
Yeah.
Do you have to change it up when you talk to people because you're trying to
I
get
won't do
them
that.
to see it
Yeah,
different,
I
and
won't do that. Yeah.
and yeah. So what do you deal with from that? How?
So that's again a great question. So let's talk about that. The biggest skepticism I face isn't even from people who don't believe me. I'm sorry,
Mm,
who don't believe in the phenomena. It's from
okay.
people who do believe in the phenomena,
And
but
know
they have
you.
yep, and they're like very religious, and they're about they treat the phenomena like it's a religion.
Mm,
Check this out, y'all. I just had this conversation on Twitch literally before I jumped on here. Human beings, we have a prime imperative to not die, right? We don't want to die. Most organisms don't want to die. Our prime imperative is to stay alive, to and also to minimize discomfort or pain and maximize pleasure. Two prime objectives in general. If there is a thing that you come across or encounter that can cause what is against your prime objective, that is to not die and to feel pleasure, then you consider it a threat of some kind,
mm,
right? And so whether that be religion or any kind of ideology or an actual like a lion or a tiger or a bear, oh my, those things can be considered threats to either your physical body or your mental well-being. And so I face more backlash because my ideas and my experience is antithetical to what the general population of the UFO community believes, which again is usually the pleasurable side of the phenomena, meaning it's all good, they're all good, we're all bad. And if you think that they're good, they're bad, then you're bad because you
mm,
thinking bad is what like what I'm saying.
yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is this: nothing is perfect. Nothing in existence is perfect. Nothing is. I mean, even if you believe in God, only God could be perfect, and everything under God is not perfect. It's just the nature of the way that things are in our reality. To believe that the phenomena is 100% good and all humans are bad is insane. And it's also dangerous because there are more than just, there's a spectrum. Again, there's a spectrum here. There are people who, to get Whitley Striebered, anal probed, violently, assaulted violently
Yeah.
with complete no concern or empathy or anything like that. Then there are beautiful experiences. There's a spectrum.
Yeah.
We have to be conscious of this and protect ourselves mentally, emotionally from this. My biggest backlash comes from those who believe that the phenomena is all good and that it's only extraterrestrial, that there are no other possible scenarios. I don't believe that at all, not even a little bit. I am a person who believes in non-human entities. I think they're interdimensional, whatever that means, or extra dimensional, or
Mm,
whatever, or ultra terrestrial, right? The whole gamut of things. I can't believe in just extraterrestrial. We're talking about a phenomena that goes through walls. I mean, that can get inside of your head without technology. They're getting in your head and talking to you in your mind. They're able to paralyze you non-locally from a distance. They can make you see things that are not there. They can construct your very reality, right? I can't accept that it's an that it's something that evolved over millions of years somewhere else out there and it's come here. By the way, even if it were to come here somehow, it would take so many generations they'd have to live for hundreds of thousands of years in order to get from the closest star system to here, right? The neighboring
Now,
star.
now, but are we speaking from our linear time that we think
Good
what
question.
time
Good
is,
question.
right?
Good question.
So
Yeah.
that thousands of years to us could be
Right.
that to them.
That's what I want to. I'm going to get to that. So let's talk about this theory, right? Let's
Hmm.
imagine that there's something that's 3 light years away. I can't remember the exact math, but we're talking was like hundreds or thousands of years to get here. 3 light years is like thousands of human years to get here. If you're 3 light years away, all right, and you for 1 second, how long do you think it's been on Earth? You'd have to literally time travel back in time to get to where you were. And all this time traveling, if you believe in the multiverse or the idea of different timelines, the branching timeline theory, you would literally could be based off of the quantum physics, theoretical quantum physics, you would be entering into different branching timelines, and therefore you wouldn't be where your reality was. You'd be in a different reality. If it's such a mind-boggling idea that I just can't accept the idea of extraterrestrial only. However, interdimensional, we're talking about something that's outside of space-time.
Right.
And so therefore this phenomena isn't subject to what we consider time. It can travel throughout the cosmos at will, and no matter what the time is, it's irrelevant because it's not from this time. It's from another dimension entirely above that supersedes what we experience as space-time. And if you believe that in what theoretical physics says, space and time, or time itself, is not linear, it's parallel. The past, present, and future all exist parallel to each other.
Yep.
And if there's a being that exists outside of this, they can enter into what we perceive as time at any point in time. It explains their propulsion, their ability to travel instantaneously, disappear in front of our eyes. It explains all of their tech and their abilities as well, because a being that's above our dimensions can also control the mind and the perceptions and everything of our reality. It just makes perfect sense to me if theoretical physics, quantum physics, is correct. So to me, that's my belief in that phenomenon.
Well, I've been taught, or someone's been teaching me how to jump timelines and, take yourself from here to here. Now, I don't think I've achieved it or anything, but let's do this here, because I want to, before, in a second, I'm going to have you to go back in just a second to those moments so we can know exactly what happened.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
before we do that, why do you think these entities reveal themselves to you specifically? Although the question is why, and share some insight on what you develop about these intentions from your own research. So let's go into that right quick.
Oh man, this is gonna be a bit controversial, y'all. So calm down, chat. Calm down, y'all. Everybody has their own belief, right? I don't know what Chat's gonna say, right? So,
let's not worry about that.
Yeah, I will be honest with you. I think that for myself, I think that I was vulnerable both times in my life.
Okay.
And
let's go into that. Vulnerable how? Because there may be other people.
The passing of my father was the first experience. The second time I went through my first divorce. One of the worst times of my life. It was terrible. I can't even explain it to you.
Okay.
I don't want to talk bad about, I don't want to do that, but I'll tell you, it wasn't a pleasant divorce. I was naive, I was young.
Yeah.
I wanted to be married. I wanted the thing, I wanted the life, right? Family and kids, and, but I don't think that was the intention of my wife, my ex-wife. So it obviously wasn't, to be honest. I think that, we all want something, but there's damage. And if you marry damaged people, you're going to get the damage too, right?
Now, what did she know? Of course, she knew about your experience as well.
Never told anybody until my current lady. Never told anybody.
Let's stop right there. This is exactly part, and I know that the audience is probably like, whatever, but they're not understanding this deep, because this is what I'm trying to bring forward even in our community, because there are people like yourself in relationships right now that they know literally where the most hideous crimes of their individuals are, except for the experience.
Right.
It's something about this that it's like we can't talk about it. We don't want to say anything about it. And the fact that you married this person who's supposed to know every single thing about you, right?
Right.
Because you never know what
good stuff. This is good stuff.
Is part of the effect of it, right?
Right.
You got to go back and think, if I had told her this, would we still be married?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or, man, now she would have used that against me, because when you're going through divorce, it's war.
Oh yeah,
right? An emotional war, right? Yeah. So that is one of the things when we talk about taboo, especially in our community. And I want to backtrack to that real quick, not to get into the divorce.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have shared that with your wife?
I mean,
it's your wife, right?
I didn't, honestly, I didn't even think
hold you like this at night, like it's it's okay, man. I'll get them the next time they come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be there too when that time you need. But why couldn't you trust her for that?
It's weakness, right? You know, like, I feel like that would have been exposing my weaknesses, and I didn't want her to see me as weak in any way. I needed her to see me as a man, right?
Okay. All right. But
So,
all right, man, you opening up some great stuff, because this is the other part in where can we get naked with people? And
yeah,
I'm saying naked, not physical, but
right,
naked, with
spiritually, emotionally, yeah.
spiritually, emotionally, because that's what it's going to take for this thing to go down.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm very hard pressed on trying to create the right place, the right environment, so people feel comfortable enough, because this is a naked experience. It's not
Yeah.
just, I walked outside and I saw some stuff on TV and I'm dreaming about it.
No,
This
man.
is something that takes you and strips you down to the
Yeah,
core, to
yeah.
where you got to like try to look inside yourself almost, right? So we're going to pass out of that, but I'm curious, and maybe we'll talk in private to really get to the essence of trust, and how is it, and
Mhm.
what was the difference between the one you have now, that you were able to trust her, or maybe you just gotten tired. Well, you can answer that for yourself,
Yeah,
and then
I
let's do
think it's
that before we move on. What was the difference? Why
I
now that you decided to tell this one versus
yeah.
the other one?
I mean, you hit it. It's twofold. You hit it. Like, on the one hand, it was like, if I tell her I knew, I mean, I knew what kind of person she was, she would use it against me. She'd hurt me. And I didn't want to be hurt in that way, because I was too,
Yeah,
how could I explain that to somebody who I knew would use it to hurt me eventually anyway?
yeah.
That was the one aspect of it. And the other one was, my fiance now is like, people call her a unicorn, right? Like that. I didn't even know what that was, but that's what they call,
That's the one you don't talk about at the barbershop, or you don't say anything, because and when everybody else complain about their girl, you go,
I
mine
got
too. You don't want no,
nothing.
no, you got a unicorn.
No, no, no. I
Yeah,
ain't trying to
I,
have
I, I
no.
had one for a
I
while,
don't think I
but
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she was a sexual unicorn, and everybody was talking about what they were
Yeah.
getting. I'll be like,
Like,
me too. I
not
don't
me.
know what y'all talking. I'm not
Oh
gonna tell
yeah.
you at my house. So yes, that unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep
Yeah.
that to yourself. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, she, by my current lady, man, she, like I said, I could tell her anything. It doesn't even matter what it is. And if she doesn't believe me, she'll tell me, and then we'll talk about like how we should see this thing. But when it comes to my experiences, she believes me. She thinks it's
Mhm.
true. She has seen how I am as a person all the time, and she recognizes that, why would I even tell anybody that? She knows I don't like to be vulnerable. And so to tell someone something like this, that is completely, you talk about naked, that's like laying myself completely bare in
Yeah,
front of her.
yeah.
This is me, this is all of me. Yeah. And so that's what I think is why I told her, because I knew I could. I knew it was okay. It was okay to tell her. She wouldn't judge me or hurt me because I told her that, ever. I don't think she'd ever do that. So
Well, you got a unicorn. There are some more out. I'm in this
there are.
game, and that's one of the things I tell people. When I meet someone, I'm like, listen, you can't go explain me to your family, because I talk about mermaids, life after
Yeah.
death,
Yeah.
aliens, paranormal, ghosts, the
Mhm.
unknown. How do you go explain that to somebody what your man does? And then they got Bibles everywhere. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm talking about an exorcist at the house. So
Yeah.
let's go back now to the moment.
Yeah.
Let's go back. So take us back, all of us back to, and I know this can get emotional. So let's go back to the moment prior
Mhm.
to, and let's walk us up, and let's go to when you saw the entities themselves. Let's go. But which one happened when you were younger?
Okay,
Okay.
so the first one was when I saw the craft. I'll tell you about that one.
Let's go there, and then we'll hit to the next one. Okay.
All right, check this. So this is what happened with the first one. My dad just passed away. I was dealing with this situation, search for answers. My world was shattered. I didn't know. I just didn't understand what was going on in life in general. But that was what was going on emotionally in myself, mentally. But I woke up one night, and it was at my grandmother's house in New Jersey. And there was this big, I used to sleep in the living room because she had this sectional that was real. It was a whole way around. I mean, she had this big old section. I loved it. And when you pull out the couch, it was like a whole big room with just a bed. So as a kid, come on, y'all, like, I'm gonna sleep on a big bed. Forget about that room. I got
All right.
this whole living room bed, right? So I would sleep there, but there was a big window that was the size of the whole wall that faced the neighbor's parking space. She had split her house into two and rented it out to Mexicans. They were cool people, but they partied sometimes. So like, I thought that the light that I saw was probably from them partying. There was a bunch of cars beaming their lights in the window, but that never happens because it was just it was brighter than anything I've ever seen, even to this day. I've never seen a light that bright. And I was like, man, or maybe it was the cops. Because,
Okay.
listen, y'all. Listen, y'all. There was a big house down the street. Let's just put it that way. And my dad wasn't, he was awesome, but he wasn't perfect. So I was like, is it the cops or is it, like I didn't know. It didn't seem right. So I got up and I walked to the window and I peered the curtain to the side. And then I saw this light beaming like a cone onto the grass. And I looked, I don't know why I did it like this. I just can't, I keep thinking of why I did it like this. I looked at the light on the grass and then I followed, like, that's weird, like a helicopter light. And I followed it to the base to where it started and it coned in like this. And it was a
Mm,
freaking flying disc, a flying saucer that was
wow.
hovering slowly above the trees, wobbling like this, just hovering, wobbling like this. All right. And I was just like, that's weird. That's a flying saucer. It's a UFO in my backyard. That's
Mm,
weird, right? Above the trees. And I wasn't sleeping. I was aware as I am right now. And I'm like, that's just so weird. And when I thought that wow, this is a UFO, that's a flying saucer, the light had slowly moved towards me. And as it moved towards me, I just stood there looking at it, not moving. I didn't think about running. I just was like, just curious about what's going to happen next. And then it went all the way to the wall and I saw it move up the wall. And then as soon as it got to me, the light hit me. No pain, just, and I blinked. And then when I opened my eyes, I was laying in bed and it was morning time. I
wow.
don't know how much time I lost.
Lots of time, huh?
Yeah. That was the first time that I had an experience. I know it's insignificant, but like that
No,
was a big deal to me.
listen. All of this part, and it's not about me. It's about you tonight. And I won't get deeply into, I saw a UFO, it was just flying and two jets following behind it, but not realizing how significant it was to my journey and everything. But as a young kid, now you are exposed to understanding, something different. And this is one of the initiatives, part of Project Black is Project STARS. And
Mhm.
STARS is an acronym to use stargazing to achieve real space conversations. And I think that everybody, when I get with these organizations, we need to start having our children get some telescopes. Well, I'm not talking about them becoming astronauts, right? I just
Right.
want, all I want is staring up there, and that kid begins the curiosity phase and looks over and say, "Mom, Dad, brother, cousin, is anything else out there?" We got it, because the next answer is going to be so important. But if
Right.
they get one of these other closed-minded parents of no, but yet God has created the universe, but he didn't put nothing in that empty space. He just didn't want to. Just whatever stories they want to
You
give.
know, despite what people think, I'm just be real with you. I feel like black people are more open to this. Again, take this how you want to, y'all. But like, I feel like every black person that I've talked to, and I talked to a lot of black people, oh yeah, probably is aliens out there. Oh, but I know the government's lying. We already know they lie. Like we don't need to like. We're not like patriotic Americans who believe the government is impeccable. Like, oh, they're just so perfect and your rights are everything. I love my president. We know what they are. We just know, and
Right.
and culturally we understand because we've been through it. We went through the '70s, the crack epidemic. We seen what they did with the FBI peddling drugs into our community, how they tried to destabilize the black family. And I'm not trying to get political,
Yeah,
but the
we don't.
bottom line is
Yeah.
we know what they've done to us, the government. We know what they've done to us. We're not unaware that they can do this shenanigans to the whole world. You think they care
Yeah,
about anything?
but they're not doing it to us on a religious level. We're doing it to ourselves. That's not.
That's a whole nother story, brother.
You know
It's
what I'm saying?
yeah.
They
I
they
mean,
just put the mechanism in place. We ran with the ball, and
yeah.
now we
I
playing
think
the
there's
game.
Yeah,
We
I think
as
there's a
those
system
people.
though. I think
Yeah,
there's system. I think the system. When you got a system, human beings are like sheep. Bottom line, we are. We really are.
yeah,
And only a few of us break free from that pattern of like feed me, master. Right? Information wise, most of us are just glued to the TV, waiting for the master to tell us what the instructions are for the next day. And it's just we're by design or as a consequence of just the nature of human civilization. I don't know, but we are like sheep. It is unfair to ascribe all this. Everything isn't individually. we're not all individually responsible for everything. There are external influences that affect entire cultures and civil and portions of the population. It's a fact. I mean, they literally enslaved. Do you think that we wanted to be slaves? Absolutely not. But we went through a whole 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow, and to this day, we're still experiencing certain things with the police and all that stuff like that. And again, I don't want to get political.
Well, we're
I'm
not
just
gonna
saying.
get. We're not. And I'm gonna
My
reel
point
us
is,
back. I'm gonna reel us
yeah,
back in. But
this
go
is
ahead and
where the
make your
UFO
point.
stuff. So I want to get back to the UFO stuff because what I want to say is that we have accepted that there is obviously a control mechanism when it comes to government that's willing to keep us from knowing the truth. So when I talk to Black people, it's always yes. It may seem like it's not in the Black community, but it is. The problem is that we don't have the. It's almost like we're so consumed by the culture, the fear and the culture that we have that dominates us, that we don't have the energy and the wherewithal to have these conversations. We're
Yeah.
concerned about other things. That's kind of how I feel like my cousins, for example, gangbangers in Tacoma, Washington. You think they're talking about aliens? They believe, but they don't have time. Like they're so stuck in that world, they can't talk about it. My aunts and uncles in Jersey, they're trying to keep maintain the property that they had to fight to get. They're not thinking about aliens. When I talked to my grandmother, she said, I know, Marquise. I know. And I was like, she's like, oh, I always knew. My cousins in Jersey. Oh, I know. They all know, but they're fighting to just
I
live to be normal. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going against the grain a little bit, but I will say that there is a correlation between ghost and aliens, right? I
Of
believe
course.
most of our people believe in okay, grandmother's spirit is over there, or I can
Right.
smell her perfume,
Right.
or
Right. Mhm.
there's a ghost upstairs and it's grandma, and especially if the Ghostbuster come back down and say, "Hey, that's your grandmother." Up there. I'm like, no, she got to go. She got to go. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
care who it is. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the macaroni and cheese, but she got to go.
Yeah.
And so I
Oh
think
my
that
God.
that particular side of the fence is the limitations of where we go, and I think that they don't, although they believe there's something else out there,
Yeah.
I don't think they understand the comprehension of eyeballing something that your mind
You're right.
has no
You're
answer
right.
for.
I agree, brother. I
Until they're
agree.
faced with the experience,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking a whole different mad duck, right? Because all right, it's but then on the other side of this, my personal sentiment is if they were to show up today and say, "Hey, I'm here," I think that there will be a collective of the population that will not be able to handle the
Mm.
true essence
Man.
of that. And I do believe it falls in some of these categories where I'm talking about, right? So I don't want to blame a whole society for this, but I do think that when it comes down to it, so we can have a casual conversation because there's a little humor. They want to be like,
Right.
yeah, the aliens here, but do you really believe that they are here? And when you start hearing the stories that happens with these abductions, and you start hearing all the stuff that's happening and all the things that we don't talk about in the
You,
press,
you know,
yeah,
I gotta say something, man. I will. I mean, I don't know how much because I gotta talk about the experience because it was more frightening than this one. But
we're gonna get to that. I mean, and yeah,
yeah,
I got you right here. I got the
I
map
will.
right here.
Yeah,
We on it, but this is still your day. Let's go.
I will say. I will tell the audience this because I think it's important too. I believe this 100%. Y'all need to read up on Peter Levenda. Um, I think that I am concerned about like you want to talk about the Black community and what we need to do. Like I heard a song by Jay-Z the other day, and I can't remember the specifics of the lyrics, but it had something to do with him calling himself Jehovah, like he's God,
Mhm.
and he's God, and him and Drake talking about the 666 God, and like there's some real interesting symbology within a lot of rap lyrics that I get concerned about because we got our kids listening to this stuff. And again, I love rap music. First of all, your intro, oh man, that was fire. That was fire. I love that intro. And so like I feel like I'm concerned that there's a message. And by the way, if you listen to the rappers and what they say about their music and who controls it, do we control? Do we get to choose what gets talked about in these lyrics? No, they talk about their producers. that give them the okay I want y'all to rap about this, or oh, here's a song that I want you to put in there, and okay, add this. I want you to do a whole Illuminati, Satan worshiping music video for, for what? What for? Why use the symbology of a being that we've known historically as the antithesis of all things good?
Yeah.
And then put that in the culture of the black culture. And so I just feel like we need to read up on like the idea of how culture is created. How does this stuff get created, and how does it affect us as a community? Because I think we do need to bring us out of that.
Yeah, Billy does a good job of bringing ancient civilizations to the conversation, and I think that's where people will go with it. But all right, so let's go back now to the big one.
Oh man, yeah.
And take a deep breath, and and I know this is the hardest part of them, and let's go. Take us back to that moment.
Yeah.
And give me the age, where let's just what were you doing? Just give us that whole outline of what was happening before it happened.
So this was terrifying, y'all. Like okay, I gotta collect myself, because honestly, the level of fear, I can't. It's like you relive it every time you tell it. But I was where I live now, and I was at my cousin's house, and I was going through my divorce. So my world was shattered again. My whole world was shattered again. I was confused and everything. And I remember we were talking about, what's that dude's name? David Icke. I read his book and learned about the archons and the reptilians and the moon. I was just learning about this stuff, So it was in my consciousness again at this point in my life. And I remember laying down and I slept in the living room because I was staying with him. Again, divorce is what happens, y'all. I don't get to keep the house. He did, but I didn't. So I was sleeping in the living room on the floor, and I remember I was laying down. I look up and I thought, oh no, they're coming. I wasn't thinking about them. Why are they coming? That was the thought in my head.
You felt them coming.
I have no idea why I thought that.
Wow.
I'll never I just wish I knew why I thought that. It's almost like I've had this before and don't remember. Like I've had more of these, and the thought of them brings them, or something. Like I'm bringing them, almost like I'm bringing them in my life. That's what I kind of feel. But I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't thinking about them. Why are they coming? And the terror. I can't explain it.
Hey, hold on a minute. I want you to take a break for a second, because I know where you're going to go with this story, and I know how it gets emotional for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to play our little, we need to talk about our conscious awards and all of that. And then when you come back, go ahead and take that deep breath.
Sure,
I know where we're about to go with this thing. And I don't think the audience does.
No, I don't.
Yeah. So we will do this. Let me do this right quick.
Hey everybody, it's Billy Carson, also known as Forbidden Knowledge. I want to talk to you about a very special event coming up July 30th, 2023. The Forbidden Conscious Awards, the first annual event of its type. We're going to honor people who have been contributing to the conscious community for decades. People that you know and love that have helped you get to higher levels of thought and consciousness and awareness. And guess what? It's time to give them their flowers while they're still alive. It's going to be a live in-person event, but seats are going to sell out very fast. You want to make sure you're there in person for this amazing level event. It's going to be above the Oscars, above the Grammys. And guess what? You can help vote for the winners. Voting is available on forbiddenknowledge.com. And the categories are going to be social media influencer, podcast/radio host, TV host, actor, director, producer, entrepreneurs, health and wellness, philanthropists, authors, field researchers, archaeologists, space anomaly hunters, and of course, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And you want to be there in person because I'm going to be speaking. That's right, I'll be your keynote speaker that night at the Forbidden Conscious Awards. If you want to come to a mini conference, this is the place to be, because I'm going to give you the knowledge that night, as well as performances. We have celebrity guests performing. We'll have a halftime show where we're actually going to perform music for you. And don't forget about the pre-event mixer, where if you buy a box seat, you'll be in the VIP section, and you also have private access to a VIP mixer with celebrity guests. Shake hands, break bread, network, and then walk the red carpet with us and take amazing photos. It's going to be a night to remember. You don't want to forget this. And you help vote by going to forbiddenknowledge.com. Go to the Conscious Awards link. You can text in a vote for who you want for any category. As well as if you're out of the country, you can use the web form ballot to still vote for anyone you think is worthy of being honored that night. Make sure you hurry up and get your tickets because they're selling out very fast. I want to see you there. Forbidden Conscious Awards 2023.
All right, y'all. We're coming to the part of the awards where I think they're going to stop voting in a few days. So if you haven't, you know, I'm in the TV host category, so I'm up against some stiff competition. And if you think I'm bringing value to you all, then hopefully it's worth that you go right now to voteforroderick.com. It will take you over to the Forbidden Knowledge page. You can hit that little button with my name on it, submit it, and vote. Now, if you voted before, that will be for the nomination. Now it's for the victory and for us. And so hopefully, you know, in our community and, you know, secret and all those things. And so I just want you all to know that I appreciate that. All right. So let's get back into our story. And look, I got my little project.
Yeah, that's cool. I dig that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a story behind it. And but all right, so let's get into where we are right now. I know you were starting into the story, and I just wanted to make sure that I was able to, you know, share that because we're coming down to the last date of the events. But let's go. Let's. You ready?
Yeah, vote for Roderick, y'all. Vote for Roderick.
There you go. Appreciate it.
All right. So and by the way, Billy Carson, I wonder if he knows the impact he had. Like, sometimes I wonder if people realize in your position, in his position, if they realize the impact they have on somebody like me, like a new dude coming out doing this thing for the first time in my life, and kind of gaining a little bit of traction. Like, y'all, I just wonder if y'all know big impact.
I mean,
like,
I'm here. You could tell me right here. I mean,
I'm telling you. But this is for both of y'all. This is for both of y'all because you doing the thing, brother. You doing that thing, man. Yeah. You know, you got the impact.
And then if you shout, then we can probably hear you. Hey, Billy. Yeah.
Hey, Billy, you doing that thing, man.
Yeah. So, there you go.
So, you know, all right. So let me, and again, I apologize if I slow down or I slow down a lot.
I already know, and so, you have, you know, the safeness here, and I got moderators in the chat. Yeah, if anything goes down, they're gonna ban them, and not just block them. I'm giving permission to ban them because you can ban them completely. They will never come back to this channel. And so my mods and my show producer Lonnie and all that is there, and she is ready and armed because this is why we make sure we protect the people here. So because there's people watching that are going to see what craziness goes on in the chat, and it could deter them. But that's not what we're trying to do here. So
yeah, safe place. I feel safe here. Real talk. So,
there you go. Lonnie says right there on the screen. She
got
you. So she's ready to get them.
All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So so I'm laying down in the living room, and you know, I looked up and in my head I said, you know, I wasn't thinking about them. Why are they coming? Like, they're coming. And like I said, I don't know why I thought that, but again, I think it's because I've had experiences and I don't remember them, not anything. And by the way, somebody asked in the chat, was I paralyzed? I was paralyzed. I couldn't move anything but my head. I could look up, I can move my eyes, but I could only move like a little bit. So I could see them. And then when they get, so then that's what really messed me up to this day, was seeing them come through the back door.
Like opening a door or just through the door?
Going directly through the back door. That's what messed me up to this day. It messes me up. I get chills just thinking about.
And when did this happen? Because we want to get.
I was around 24 years old at this time.
Oh, this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, man, like I was like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Like, and again, I don't know why you go to the most rudimentary thoughts in your head when this stuff happens.
I got to ask from an investigator standpoint.
Yeah.
Were you high?
No, I didn't do anything. Okay. So up until later on in my life, I was against marijuana entirely. Okay. I didn't drink alcohol. I wouldn't do anything because I thought it was bad for you. all of it. I just refused to believe it. It wasn't until I learned about cannabis and the benefits in moderation, y'all. Listen carefully. There are benefits medicinally if you have conditions, mental conditions, or anything like that. But I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. I refused. I was a fitness trainer, and if you want, I'm gonna send you a picture. I was jacked, man. I'm talking about like people wonder like, how do you get like that? I was jacked, but I'm a small dude, so anything that I pack on looks good. But I was a fitness trainer. That was my profession. So,
And what came through that door? Give us a description. Pretend that we were filing a police report.
Okay, so well, let me I got to tell you what happened first because it wasn't until I saw them come through that door when they walked straight through the door. I was like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And then there was another like, imagine you're in terror and you're paralyzed, but then a wave of like new terror just flushes through your body real quick. That's what happened. It was like, oh no, like this isn't okay. Something is wrong. This is wrong. And they weren't walking, y'all. They were hovering. They were hovering off the floor, and they were doing it in this fluid motion, like like one speed. It didn't vary at all together, 3 of them. And they were wearing this.
Were their legs moving though, or just
they were just just hovering. I don't remember if their feet were dangling or if they were like straight feet, but like in my mind, I'm thinking their feet were dangling and they were just hovering above the feet, like a foot above the floor. They ain't supposed to go through walls. You're not supposed to be able to hover, and they were doing it in this odd fluid motion. It was just so weird. And I remember they were wearing this one-piece suit that the neck, like right here, it was across. It stopped at their neck, and they had a skinny little neck, and at their wrists. That's where this suit ended. One piece, like a solid. Just I don't even know how to describe it again. It was a dark blue or black color, real dark, and they had the big heads, the giant black eyes that wrap around like all the way to the back, to like the side of their heads. Their eyes were huge, man, all black, and they were little. I'm not sure how tall, but I'll just go with the 3 foot. Like people say, they're 3 feet tall or whatever. They were small, and they had real long fingers, and their arms were down by their sides. So they were just like hovering with their arms down their sides, real long fingers, way past their knees if they had any, and they were going in unison, and they all circled me slowly. The one fluid motion, they circled me. And this is a moment that I looked up at the clock and I was like, I'm not going to forget this time. I'm going to remember. I look up at the clock as they circled me and I saw it was 11:30. It's like 11:30. And then I look back and one of them was in my face right here. That was the most, listen, I can't explain the fear. Like, the level of terror that I felt there, it's like I said, I could be thrown in a shark-infested waters bleeding, and it would be more terrifying. I wouldn't be as terrified as I was with them in my house. Looking me in the face. My whole vision was just covered by those big black eyes and that freaking big head. And in my head, this thing said, "Don't worry, we won't hurt you." And I blacked out. In a blink of an eye, I look back up at the clock. I was like, oh my gosh, where did they go? They were gone. And I look up, it was 3:30 in the morning. I lost 4 hours. All right. So emotionally, how do you deal with something like that? You don't, man. You don't deal with that. You just like right now, I feel uncomfortable. Like not because I don't feel safe here, but like my fear is that by thinking about it, they'll come back again. That's my fear. Is like if I think about them,
giving them control of your mind.
Yeah. That's my fear. But I feel like I need to tell people. I have to tell people. I used to not tell people because I didn't want to make myself look bad. But now you guys need to know this is real. This is real. And it affects people. And there's PTSD as a consequence of this phenomena. I still to this day, again, there are nights where I'm like, oh man, like, please don't come back. Please. I beg and plead, like, do not come back, please. So I'm not ready. I don't want to see it.
It's all right. My question would be, they spoke telepathically to you?
In my head. No, they had these tiny slits for mouth. They had like blue or I don't know, like bluish gray skin. You know, like very perfect skin, but like a tiny slit for a mouth, 2 little slits for a nose, and I couldn't see any ears. I couldn't tell if they had ears or not. I couldn't tell. So, you know, and the thing I just don't like, the one thing that I don't like, I don't know why they had to get in my face like that. I don't like that because it's like they invade your space to break down whatever. I don't know, like there's this feeling that they broke through a protection that I had for myself mentally, and was like, just nah, I'm in you. I'm in your head. We are one now. Don't worry, we won't hurt you.
It's the thing that sticks out to most, number one, and is that they know you in incredible fear, right? They know
Yeah.
that this is,
Yeah.
you're frozen, and some people will try to put an equation of sleep paralysis, right?
Yeah.
But at this point, you got visuals. You see this is
It's an
happening,
experience, man. This is an experience.
and you can't move, but
Mhm.
yet they want to say, "Don't be afraid," right? It's like, really, and at this point,
Yeah.
but did you feel? And the question I'm asking: did you feel violated?
I felt invaded. Like, like I don't know how to, but like somebody that lets you know they could do whatever they want to, and there's nothing you can do about it. You are powerless to me. I am way more powerful than you. There's nothing you can do. You might as well just like accept this. That's what I felt like. I'm not sure if I guess it would be violated maybe, but I think in my head invaded, because they weren't just in my space; they were inside of my head, man.
Well, and I get it. I guess violation would be what happened to
Yeah,
Whitley
Willie.
Strieber, but it
Yeah.
would be wherever level.
Mhm.
Because you make a great point, and I try to make this same point when people walk around and say, "Well, they're friendly," and I go with Lou Elizondo with the muddy boot print theory,
Yeah,
right?
that's great.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
what do you do? You don't lock your house down for tonight, but when you wake up in the morning, you got muddy boot print tracks going all through the house, but the doors are still locked.
No, brother,
That's
I
somebody
gotta
telling you I could do whatever. It doesn't matter, right? And
it's
then,
worse than that.
yeah,
It's worse than that. There is a I don't know how y'all feel about Tom DeLonge, okay? And I don't want to get into the history, but he gave an analogy of a man waking up in the middle of the night hearing a loud bang. This is
mhm,
what he says is being dealt with behind the scenes, why it's a secret. A man wakes up with a loud bang. He's in his boxers and a t-shirt. He grabs a baseball bat, runs outside to his backyard, realizes there's a giant tank. It's huge. It's also fully weaponized, fully automatic weapons, laser systems, high-tech stuff. You're like, all you got is your boxes and a baseball bat. What you gonna do? You don't want to wake up the family, the neighbors, because it's pointing its guns right at you, but it's not doing anything. It's just looking. It's just observing. It's just staring right at you in your backyard, and your family's sleeping. Do you wake up your neighbors? Do you wake up your family? Scare everybody? It's not doing anything. If you wake them up, guess what happens? You could. I mean, if it wasn't attacking before, and you scare everybody in the whole neighborhood, they go around buzzing. What if it does attack now?
yeah.
Because you alerted. You cause all this chaos, and there's nothing. You got to figure out what's going on. You got to figure it out. But all you got is a baseball bat in your boxers. We're dealing with something that there is an aspect of it that is staring us, that is overpowering
You can't
beyond our
do this
imagination.
and say Jesus, 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 and it's supposed to go away.
Yeah, he said that. He said if there is a power that we have against the
Mhm.
phenomena. There
Yep.
is a power. It's just like there's also, but we're also powerless in some ways too. And again, we can't look at this as just our space brothers, y'all. We got to open our minds and look at the others. There's a lot more going on. It's like the sure way to end civilization by saying, "Oh, forget about the bad stuff. Just focus on the good." We don't have the luxury of doing that. We don't have to. We're
Yeah.
talking civilization affecting phenomena. It's all of us, the Mayans to today.
Yeah. I think it boils down. How much time we got? I know you ain't got to do your other show. You good, right? Tonight?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good.
So what we're gonna do in a little bit, and I'm gonna let you take a couple of questions. I'll put them on screen from the audience, the
Sure.
ones who support the channel. Because there's so many chats going through. But if they
Right. It's hard
decide
to.
to
Yep.
super chat,
Yep.
then we will be able to highlight your question, and from that. But in the meantime, let's go back to another couple of questions here that I have. Now that you have this or had this experience, and then now that you are really dealing with the fact of vulnerability, and you still sit here today and say, just don't come back. You know, have you ever had a false alarm where you felt that, you know, oh, they may be coming
Yeah, I have this year.
this year? Okay.
A couple months ago, I mean, a month or two ago, I've been doing this thing where I wake up and I'm like, no, you're not going to get me while I'm weak and vulnerable again. You're not going to get me. I don't allow myself to get in that vulnerable state anymore at nighttime. I feel like I'm ready. And if it's going to happen, I'm going to be mentally, I'm not going to let them put me in that spot, that fear anymore. I won't let them. No. So I know that sounds crazy because I'm scared, but like, I got to have courage. Like I will display courage in those situations. But I woke up one night. It was like, ironically, 3:00 in the morning, y'all. Pay attention. And I felt like, oh man, in my mind, I could see a tall one, a tall
Really?
gray. In my mind, I could see it right behind, because I have a soundproof curtain in my office, and I was in my office sleeping, and I was like, nah. I felt like they could come, and I thought it wasn't gonna be the little ones this time. It was gonna be the tall ones. Which, if you want to speculate, allegedly they're the ones that have more control over the small ones. They're the ones that are more directing these operations, in this situation. But nothing happened. I stayed up for hours, y'all. Hours, 5:30 in the morning till the sunlight came out. I just stayed up waiting. The question is, did anything happen? And I just wasn't aware, because I go into altered states easily through meditation. I learned how to alter my state of consciousness with ease. So did they do that in a moment that I wasn't aware of, because time is different for them?
But,
I don't know.
But what if they are higher intelligence, as we know,
right?
And they know the impact that they're having on you? Could they have said, we need to just make contact a different way, less invasive? You know what I mean? In other words,
I never told you about. I did have another experience. I forgot. I had another one this year.
And before you say that,
yeah.
Now we get to this part where you have one, you had another one, and then you got people out here saying, I ain't had one. What makes him different? Why are you having these experiences? And does that then make you think, oh, maybe am I crazy? You know, or people think I'm crazy because I keep having these experiences and nobody else is having them. You know, not no one else, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
No, man, I've never thought that I was crazy. I have thought that, not for these experiences anyway, for other things, you know, but not for this.
All right.
Why would I get with that girl? I knew she was crazy. No. No.
Time travel would help that one.
I would love that tech.
Yourself. Like, dude, don't
do it, man. I'm telling you, brother.
Yeah.
No, I've thought to myself, like, there are people who say they want the experience. Y'all, you're tripping, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, you think that you, like, again, this drives me, and I go on hour rants about this sometimes.
Man.
I'm not going to do that here, but somebody told me in my chat, you know what? You don't know what their intentions are. How can you anthropomorphize the phenomena? Well, I mean, I don't know what lions, I know that lions want to eat me. And I don't think they're evil, right? But if I go around one, they're going to eat me. If I bring my family, we're all goners.
Yeah.
We're talking about a phenomena that doesn't want to eat you. And it's, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I know, they only eat cows, and just their balls in their mouth. Like, they're not, like, they're not concerned about us eating us. They're concerned about your soul.
But we're talking about the ones that they bring back, and we're talking about,
that's another thing. Yeah.
And we're also talking about, there's a book behind me that says there's 80 different species, right?
Right. So, I mean,
are we all talking about the same one? But yet,
thank you.
When we get the description of these grays and all that, and then you hear, oh no, they're mechanical. Oh, they are slaves to the reptilians or other beings, and it just really this whole thing just whacks out of there, right? And so, I think it's pretty much, when we look at what is happening, for example, when it gets down to extraterrestrials encounters, me being a UFO investigator and talking to many, many people, and started looking for similarities in the stories, right?
Yeah.
And they all seem to be there, and it's all more of the subconscious or conscious approach that is happening here, because it's not so much of a physical thing where somebody described, they came through my door. Look,
Right.
the door lock is broken. They kicked the door in. No, they just came on through the walls.
Right.
And when we think about, like you said earlier, where they have the power to prove to you that we can do whatever we want, when we want, and how we want, but yet, we still get on the other hand, where, like you said, there's people out there that want this experience, and I get it all the time. I get people like, well, I wish it happens to me. And I'm like, if you only knew the clue of some of the stories you've heard and
Oh my
how this
gosh.
really affected people. And
Yeah.
I was in church, I'm here in Dallas, so it's a big church here. And I remember the pastor standing up one day, and he just stood there and he stopped talking and he says, so many people want my anointing, is what he called it. And he said, they always, he said, I'll drop my handkerchief and they'll pick it up. His anointing is in his sweat. And he said, let me just tell y'all something. He says, next time when y'all walk up here and want my anointing, I'm going to lay hands on you, but I'm going to lay hands on you that you go through what I went through, that you go through your life be wrecked like mine was. You lose your parents. He started going through all, he said, no, come on. You want this anointing. So it's no different than a person said, I want that experience. And you got to look at them and say, oh, you want to be up at night. You want to, can't sleep, and you want to cry. You want to, no. Come on over here. You want this. You know what I'm saying?
No, you don't want this.
And you were saying, I wouldn't wish this on the worst of them.
No.
And
Because
they
we're
don't take
talking
your word for it, right? They don't want to take your word for it. So
listen, I got to tell you, because there's something I think people need to hear. There was a story about it. There was an account of an abduction experience by a little girl. She was, I believe, 12 or 13 years old, and she worked on a farm, and the farmer was her boss. Her parents and her family were with this farmer. They were doing something, I don't know, if a celebration or something like that, or she was working, whatever. And it's irrelevant, but she was essentially taken by who she thought was her boss. Pay attention to this story, y'all. Her boss, a person appeared to be her boss, led her into the mountains, and she followed them, and they went to this cave. And in the cave, there were two women and a few people that were there with them, humans that were there with them, that invited her in, offered her all this beautiful food, this wonderful different delicacies, and whatever she wanted, they would make her and give to her in this cave. Except they just wanted her to essentially mate with a boy. And so she got to choose which boy she wanted to mate with. But she's a little girl, 12 or 13 years old.
And listen, this is a choice like that?
They wanted her to make this choice.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Her boss had led her to do this. Who appeared to be someone who appeared to be her boss. It wasn't her boss. And they were trying to coerce this little girl. And by the way, 12, 13 is the age of this phenomenon, interacting with women, and we could talk all day about that. I want you to tell me if this is a benevolent species. And it lures her into the woods by deception, by the way, pretending to be her boss, human, by the way, tries to get her to mate with another young boy at 12, 13 years old. Check out, it's in Richard Dolan's book, Alien Agendas, a speculative analysis. Read it. It's in there. And then she starts to get uncomfortable because she doesn't want to be there. She's a little girl, 12, 13 years old. She doesn't want to be there. And so she says, I want to go home. And the one lady gets angry. And she goes over to her and she puts her hand on her chest and pushes it. And the description was that she was crushing her chest. And the other woman said, stop. Don't hurt her. We can always get her when we want. And they let her go home. Did she die? Did they eat her alive? Did they cut her limbs up and serve her up to the reptilians? No, they tried to assault her. And that's the phenomenon. Guys, that is the phenomena. There's no, you can do this whole thing where you're like, oh, they're all benevolent. If you have children, ask me if you want that to happen to your daughters at 12, 13 years old. It's not all good. It's not all bad. Yeah. But we do have something to be concerned about. You wouldn't tell your family, oh, don't worry about the aliens. They just want to assault your children at 12 years old. But it's for your own good. They made a contract in a past life. Come on, y'all. Please.
Yeah. I think it's once again, and I forget what it's called. I think it's FPP
Stockholm syndrome is what it's called, man. When people think
or
that it's a pod,
fantasy
go ahead.
personality prone or
Yeah,
something too.
yeah,
In
yeah,
ufology, where people tend to say they've seen them, keep seeing them, or pretty much from there. And we got bloodline, we got all these conversations that we can get into
right.
when it comes to this. One of the things first, I just want to first thank you for even sharing the story because I know it can get emotional, and you've done real good tonight.
Yeah,
And
thank you, man.
yeah, and just pretty much, and that makes me understand that I'm doing a good job of having you feel comfortable,
Yeah,
right?
man.
And pretty much, and we're still going to continue, and as we do more events and panels and bring in more and more people, because my dream is that one day there's 50 people sitting across a room on stage, and they are all sharing their experiences, and other people begin to get up and say, hey, I just thought it was me, or and then all of a sudden they'll realize that how is you from California, you from New
Yeah.
York, you from Texas, how are y'all seeing the same things?
Right, right.
You get what
And
I'm saying?
just so y'all know, I usually am in tears.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter how many times I've told this, I still feel like this feeling where I want to cry. I'm not doing it tonight. I don't want to be there. I could be easily. I'm trying really hard not to be, but
Well,
this puts me in tears.
that's why I cut us to the commercial earlier. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. I had to swallow. Literally, it's like you swallow that because it's just something about, I don't know, there's something about it. I don't know.
well, and like I said, and it's something that we tend to not look at it, like you said, whether it's interdimensional or whether it's
Yeah.
out there, and we can look at how all of these things transpire, but at the end of the day, we're still searching for the answers, and those answers may not be what we really are looking for, because obviously, at some point today, whether the big secret keepers have been mining this secret, whether it's for technology, whether the religious institutions are like, this could break up a whole lot of things out here. I think there's something bigger that some of them know more than what we need to know,
Yeah.
or want us to know, or think we can handle to know. Because just like the name of the show, Why the Big Secret, was inspired by a moment I was watching Men in Black when Will Smith was talking to Agent K,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he sat there and he was like, why the big secret? People are smart. And then he looked at him and he says, young man, a person is smart, but people are, dumb, stupid, or whatever, because it's like the mob mentality, right? You get one of them, one at a time. And I think that even making contact with people, and then don't let me get into the theory of, this place could possibly be some prison planet.
Simulation, right? You could do that.
Simulation. Our souls are, trapped here. We trying to get off the planet. There's just, that Earth is an experimental place. Billy and I did conversations about Noah's, and did we all come from Adam and Eve? So we got all of these parallel conversations happening, and yet they should intersect at some point so we can get some truth, but they don't. They just spawn, all over the place. And so I think it's something that is pretty much. So let me see about, um, if we can answer a few questions. If any of y'all got any questions or you want something you said, please
Yeah.
highlight that thing. And I'll bring it up on the screen if you can make it notice. And we're just saying whatever amount you want to super chat, but just do it, because there is 5,000 messages rolling through here. And
Yeah.
when I get to scrolling, it is impossible for me to, pick some stuff. But if the system will highlight it, and I don't care, it could be $5, $2. If you got a questions, bring it up front. If not, then Marquise and I will be singing some lullabies in a few minutes to from there. But have you ever had your blood type check?
I'm I'm either O positive or O negative. It's been, again, I was in the military. I don't have my military ID anymore, but it was
Yeah.
either O positive or O negative, one of those two.
Okay.
I'm not RH. People keep talking about this RH negative blood type.
Yeah.
I don't have
Well,
that blood type.
yeah, but let me tell you a story about that. So my daughter was admitted into the emergency about, I don't know, maybe a month ago when I didn't come here one Tuesday night. And she had emergency surgery, and it was very serious. But I do remember the nurse comes back into the room and, tells out her blood was O negative, O positive, one of them. And I was like, "Roo," like Scooby Doo, like I should have did for you. Then I looked over at her mom and I was like, because I do study that bloodline stuff. And come to find out that one, the ex-wife, I don't actually had two ex-wives. So that one, she was RH negative. And she was like, do you remember when we were young? Because we had the kids when we was 20 years old. And she was like, you remember I had to have shots and stuff, so that the fetus wouldn't attack, everything. And I was like, of course I didn't remember then, but I know the implications of what she's saying now. And I'm sitting here going like, am I that close to this thing? But then when you think about it, and I will suggest, I don't think it's possible now, but maybe ask around, or I don't know, if there's other people that could know, if your father ever been to the hospitals or somewhere you can check.
I have the autopsy report of my dad. I never thought about that. To be honest, the blood type thing, I'm not educated into that aspect of the phenomenon.
The reason I'm saying this is that you may, and I'm just totally speculating, okay? But then we still got to look and see if there's a reason why you, right? And there's a lot of people being contacted, and then there's people finding out that they, have, children in space. They have, there's just so many things that's out there that
I gotta say, man, there's a in the very
connection for you. I can tell you that though.
Well, there's in the preliminary assessment for UAP, right? The government's official release of their assessment on the phenomena, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about unexpected pregnancies.
See,
as it relates to the phenomena, by the way. Why?
I did a whole show on this, and people just ignored it completely.
It's a big deal, man.
This
is a big deal.
They got a report that there are women that are like, I don't know why I'm pregnant or how I got pregnant. And then there are some who were pregnant that miraculously became unpregnant, right?
It's called missing fetus syndrome. Again, this is a real thing, y'all. This is not a joke, man. This I don't know.
And people don't really look into those things, but it is happening. They got reports of this stuff. It's live and walking, right? And and I always get that other question, Roderick, what do they look like? Because we so into these stories, right? And I always tend to say, and this is the reason why this particular extraterrestrial or this dude is not a gray alien. He's brown skin, third eye. And I tell people, what if, do you really want the answer? And that is, what if we look like them? You know what I'm saying? Not what do they look like. And it's no different than any one of your kids where somebody come up and say, Marquise, you look just like your son. And you got to correct them. No, he looks like me.
I got something to say about that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is why I feel like, there was a comment made by Gary Nolan a couple weeks ago at the Soul Conference where he said that with 100% certainty that we're not alone, there's non-human entities here. Do you remember that he said that there's an intermediary of the phenomena? Who knows? I'm just, again, answers come as more information comes out. We're all speculating at this point. But the idea that these things are able to manipulate the material world. There's another thing called slide 9, where they talk about there's the ability of the phenomena to be able to manipulate the space-time construct that's able to affect the physical matter, materialized physical matter on its own, that can go through solid surfaces, that can penetrate, that has the ability to infiltrate the aspects of government and influence decision makers.
Right.
Y'all need to pay. Y'all need to pay. If you are not hearing this, stay tuned to this show, because like, you go to look at Roderick's past shows. You need to pay attention, because I know y'all talked about some of this stuff.
We talked about it, and I try to hit all the see what I try not to do, which sometimes I get ridiculed for, because people will come and say, well, you know, bring the heat, bring this and this. I don't try to educate the people here on forbidden knowledge, because they're pupils of one of the greatest teachers, right?
Yep.
And most of these people are unquote open-minded to the facts.
Yeah.
But then there's millions of wanderers that's out there that has no bearings to what is happening. And that's why I try to create that vortex, and even though we communicate here, but hopefully my job also here is to give people enough information that they can read, they can see, or they can hear, to awaken their curiosity to the possibility of some of the things we say. Because I don't want to be the one to say this is the facts. But you got half of the population, not half of the population, but most people here in other places, they'll get in this chat. Oh, you ain't saying this. And they're so close-minded that they're only looking at this from their perspective. Lucky you that you get it. But there are 10 other people out there who don't get it. And it's our job to try to work with these people, because at this point, some of them may lose their mind, and some of them may just take it out on that person, because they're done for today. They're like, I'm out of here. Let's just, and so we don't know the effects of when the realization hit that the spiritual thing or God or whatever you've been praying to is no longer what it is, because it's almost being, and I could be just saying this wrong, literally lazy, so to speak, because there's people who don't want to go past the fact of something that they thought was not true all of their lives.
Right.
But they don't want to take the research or information or look into to now come to the realization of what they thought was not true all their lives could be true. And then the other person who thought something was true all of their lives then get to a point to where they're willing to accept the other side of the fence, that it's possible now it's not true. And if you can get people who can go through those transitions, we're going to be okay. But you got some people who won't move that needle, and they look at it through themselves. They, wonder why you, and so I said on my show all the time, oh, well, you didn't say this, you didn't. Well, I'm not talking to you. You know what I'm saying? It's not who I'm talking to.
That's right.
And if you okay, move on, move the ship, keep stepping. Because if you ain't willing to jump in the hot seat and get out here in front and take these arrows and, and tell the truth too, but you're going to die with it. You're going to take it with you. How dare you to call yourself this supposedly human, right? So I get a little infuriated with that, but I don't say a lot about it, but I experience it all the time. And so I'm like, okay, that's not it. And so I'm okay. And I'm hoping that the people that listen here understands there is a mission of talking this thing below the technology of it all.
Right.
Below the other stuff. Because like I say, the mentor I listen to is Billy. I can get that. I get it. I this was inspired by a couple of his videos, right? And they'll hear that story because he teaches the knowledge. I'm bringing some of it that I saw from it into a whole nother vision of things, right? So, but at the end of the day, there's still people like yourself who are having dreams at night, who can't talk about it. Sleep paralysis. They don't really know. Some of them feel like somebody's trying to have sex with them. I know they do. I know some people out there feel it and see it. These entities ain't no joke. You know what I'm saying? Then you have, contact, and they think they're dreaming. Oh, they see themselves in spacecraft, but it was just a dream, because when you wake up, you sitting back into where you were. So oh, it was just a dream. We got songs back in the day. Oh, and only just a dream. The rap,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's one of these things that people then got to begin to again awaken their curiosity to the possibility that some of these things that you're having is not that they're just not normal, but you better look into the fact of saying, wait a minute, this could be more, and I need to look into it. But the only way they're going to really do that is hear it from other people. And that's why for you, all of that stuff is just, phenomenal, man. It is a beautiful thing. And I just want to thank you all the way with it from there. So let's look here. Here's one of our researchers, Nicole, for the team. She says, pay attention to your dreams. What do you think about that?
So I do. I definitely pay attention to my dreams. I don't think that I have had any significant dreams recently because I stopped doing the lucid dreaming technique I used to do back in the day because of how, it's like, yes, you do sleep, but when you lucid dream and you do it often, it can be as if you're not sleeping that much. So I tended to not feel like I was rested when I did a lot of lucid dreaming. So I stopped doing it. I just stopped altogether.
Gotcha.
Now I just pay attention to my dreams. I definitely pay attention to them though, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I think a lot of people, they just don't register with it. And all right, I'm gonna go down a list a couple of things before we get out of here.
Sure.
And you just kind of give me what comes to mind. Ghost.
Real, but I don't think they're dead people. I don't think they're disembodied people that have died.
Okay. Ghosts walk through walls just like aliens. Could they be the same?
Absolutely, 100%. I think so.
Okay. Life after death.
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind that we exist and our consciousness persists after death.
Okay.
For sure.
Why do you think people, when they do get the visions, it's always something familiar? So maybe the person died 20 years ago as a kid, but that's what you still see today.
I think that it's because we are accessing what people call the Akashic record, possibly, or it's that fact that we are connected. The universe is made up of information and energy. Literally, it's information and energy. Your DNA itself is an information, it's a code that tells every other cell in your body what to do. And so in my mind, I believe that if we're to be consistent with science, we're accessing somehow consciously the memories of either our ancestors or those who are closely connected to our genealogy.
Okay. So with that being said, then how do we believe that? How do we believe who we're talking to when we could almost know that it could be a simulation?
I think it's because the way that our brain interprets everything is from a personal perspective. So when you have an experience like this, you have it from the one sitting in the pilot's seat. If you remember something, for example, from another life, the reason why you feel like it's you is because that's how your brain translates that information. You're sitting in the pilot's seat. That's how you feel about life. That's how you experience life. And so therefore, that's how you experience these extra normal or supernatural experiences as well, in my opinion.
Okay. Disclosure. What is disclosure to you?
Disclosures happened decades ago. I think that we're just catching up. When it comes to disclosure for the public, the general population, I think this year we're going to experience disclosure this year, soon, a few months.
All right, but you said it happened years ago, but I think there's a different level, but I'll wait for you to answer first. But what is, when you hear disclosure and you think disclosure, and what would it take so oh, it has now happened?
An open admission from someone credible that we are not alone in the universe, and that there is explicitly that we are aware of non-human entities, whether it be aliens or interdimensional, whatever, on this planet, not somewhere out there, here. And we've had that several times throughout history, several.
But you've had your experience, right? We got to trust the
witness. I know, but here's the thing about But for other people, for the world to accept that, who am I to a farmer in the middle of Illinois? Who am I to a business person in Texas, right? Who am I to the mom and pop store in California? I'm nobody. What would it matter to them? Somebody in a position of authority in their minds making these kinds of statements explicitly would be what I consider open disclosure to the world.
Okay. So you're saying that at this point, for disclosure, like we have the whistleblowers, we have all these things that people are putting out here.
Right.
So you're saying that someone who actually shows up from another place that says, "Hey, I'm here."
Stephen Bassett literally just said like a day or so ago, maybe even today, I'm not sure, just the podcast release, but he said he believes there will be open contact in a few years. Open contact. If that's true, it's undeniable. However, even the skeptic will say it's a Hollywood movie production. There needs to be a unanimous across the scientific community, government, the DoD, the Pentagon, a unanimous acceptance of us not being alone, and that explicitly means non-human entities engaging with humanity on this planet. There's a little bit of that, but there's also denial and lies, of course, being told by the Pentagon and the DoD. So until there's an open admission across all of these different places, we're not going to get open disclosure for the public. No.
Yeah, I think I think they're doing a good job of, desensitizing people,
Right.
because they're going to keep showing us these UFOs to a point to where people are going to be like, "Oh, okay, it's just happening."
Right.
And now it's not a conversation anymore, right?
Mm,
It's
right.
just like this, other stuff that's happening. And people are going to wait for the fact that they're going to get, they just want somebody to show up and say, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I look like." And
Right.
you kind of think of the Star Wars movie where they go into the bar scene and you get
Yeah.
all these creatures and big heads and eyes and all of this. But I'm think we're in for a rude awakening when your neighbor, who's been your neighbor all this time,
Right. That's, oh man, you said
you
it.
know what I'm saying, comes out and
You
say,
said it. You said I didn't say it. You didn't say it.
"You
I'm not,
got me." You
I
get
just,
what I'm saying?
I didn't say it, y'all. Just keep in mind. I think you're on point though. I'm gonna go with you on that one. Yeah.
I think people are going to be shocked when they find out they've been here, they walk among us, they look like us,
And they're in positions of power.
they're in
That's
position of
kicker.
power, they done maneuvered themselves, because, I don't think the disclosure that people really think they want, for example, and I've
Yeah.
said this in the past, you get on an airplane next week and that thing is shaking and
Yeah.
it's dipping, and then you get off and they hand you a brochure and says, "By the way, because of disclosure, that was a UFO that passed over, it knocked off our instrument
Listen.
panels, but our pilots are skilled and they caught the plane before it crashed, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, but you're safe, don't worry about it." Who gets it back on the next one, right?
I gotta
You
say,
know,
man, we're not even talking about the fact that the planet is on a sinking ship. We are literally sinking, y'all.
well,
And not
well,
only that, but the sun is going through some kind of electromagnetic polar shift or whatever, where the solar flares are hitting us at it. And so by 2026, we're talking about civilization affecting solar flares that could wipe out all of our technology. We ain't even
well,
talking about that.
I think we're
Like,
not going to talk about a lot of stuff like that, even though Greer kind of
I'm
put
just saying, I'm
stuff
just
in.
saying.
He threw some stuff out there about
Yeah.
2026, but I think that people. I was reading a interview, and this was a deep something that the extraterrestrials was talking to someone else, and one of the things that they said was that they don't see Earth as the beautiful place that we see it, that we think is the paradise. They like climate change stuff shifting, and you're talking
Yeah. I mean,
water consuming everything, and it's just so much that is happening right before our eyes, but only because they have this 1,000-year lifespans and thousands of years, and we're now shrinking down to 70, 80, that we don't really see it because we're coming and going, but at the same time. So I think we can get into a whole lot of that conversation, and we will. Where can people find you? You
yeah.
say the Twitch. I put it in the description as well, but yeah.
Yeah, Twitch. If you go to Twitch, Dimensions of Reality, I go by Dr. Door on there. I talk to people, we chat about what's going on. We chat about the past, and I debate all my skeptics in the audience. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Yeah. And so for those of you, we got another show coming up. I'll be doing next week. we're going to have Paul Wallace is going to be here with us, if y'all know who that is. And great. Him and I are going to do an interview here next week. But you all can go if you haven't had an opportunity, make sure you follow. You have an Instagram yet?
I have an Instagram. It's not very active, but it's not lit, y'all. But I got an Instagram. Everything is Dimensions of Reality. But my Twitch is where I'm at. That's where I'm at every day.
Okay,
Monday.
y'all find him,
Yeah.
Twitch him on Twitch, and I have my handles down there as usual. Roderick, Real Roderick at Instagram, the Twitter, and then of course we'll be doing a live stream this Thursday on Why the Big Secret channel and Friday. So y'all make sure y'all go over there. In fact, I just did a show yesterday, Marquise. And it was a Why the Big Secret show, but we were talking because you say you're into the health, and
Oh yeah.
I would, of course, I've been on this little more trying to eat a little better, and all of a sudden I'm finding all of these foods, all of this stuff that's in our foods that's banned in other countries,
Right, but we can.
but we can eat it. And now, okay,
Come
yeah,
on,
maybe that one piece of sandwich I'm not getting a lethal
right.
dose, but now I've
Right.
been eating it for 40 years,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I had a
Oh, come
whole
on.
list. I'm talking like 30 different things. And so we talked about that yesterday on the live stream, and I was going to do a video on each one of those, and it was 20, 30 different stuff. So if y'all
I'm
into
gonna
that,
watch that. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that because
yeah.
I still am like, it's a lot to learn. Just so you know, I was a personal trainer. We don't get it twisted. We just focus on our performance, how to look good. We don't
Mhm.
really think like eat your vegetables, eat meats, and have 6 meals a day. We don't do the whole like people think we do, that we're the nutritionists. Not all of us were nutritionists, just so you know. There's a
Mhm.
lot to learn about that topic. It's big. I'm still trying to being taught by random people like about these things. So I'm gonna watch that because I don't know everything about nutrition
Yeah,
and
I
about
talk about like I'm still learning, and of course y'all can see the result of that. I'm learning, but
hey, listen,
and
man.
it's okay, it's a step at a time, and
Yeah.
because I definitely challenge when people come to me and say, "Well, all you got to do is," and I'm like, "Really,
No, no,
really?"
it's not that
And,
easy.
and,
No.
and I'm like, I can do some things that you cannot do. I ain't gonna tell you all you have to do is because I'm understanding to know
Right.
that obviously I'm dealing with something from a different level. Maybe it's like whatever,
Yeah.
I'm finding the wheel, right? And but all you have to do is blah blah blah. So man, I appreciate you being here tonight. I really do. I think that you showed a lot of courage tonight. And we're gonna tell this story many more times because it's gonna be needed to be told many more times because it's gonna hit one person at the right time that then is gonna come forward. So if any of you listening to my voice, and I got some emails last week, some great stories that we're gonna bring some stuff forward and things. And if you go to whythebigsecret.com, there is a tab that says Project Black, and then you can go there, read a little bit about it. But you can also just post your stories or post your content or contact information. I'm sorry as well. And you may say, "Hey, here's my story, but I don't want to come on video." But you can read it to people, and you give me permission to do that, But in the meantime, we got to get the stories. If you're not a person of color, but you got friends, and challenge me. I guarantee you,
Yeah.
ask them what's happening and find out. You're going to find that it's something they don't talk about, but lead them to, Why the Big Secret, Project Black, so that because I know it's important, Marquise, as I'm talking to the audience too, to create that place where people can come forward. And like I said, I'm focusing right on the ground, right where the boots touch. The place that people don't care because they think they
Yeah.
already know everything. They don't care about everybody else, or they surrounded by
Yeah.
3 people who know, but don't know that there is a collective of people that are wandering and having experiences though, and wandering. And that is not a good place to be.
No.
So what else is going on for you before we can get out of here? So
Well, I mean, the only thing I will leave you all with this. All right. First of all, hit me up on Twitch. Secondly, I think y'all need to check out a 5-minute video on YouTube. It's by the History Channel,
Mhm.
and type in, if you can YouTube it, Linda Porter.
Mhm.
And I think that if you take a look at that it's just one abduction case, but it's well documented and well researched by Linda Moulton Howe and the History Channel, of course. And I think you'll find it interesting. That's all I got to say about that. And that's where I stand with my. I think there's a lot going on here, y'all. It's a lot going on. So yeah.
All right. So I like to. All right. So why don't you? I'm gonna put you back into the studio, and you and I will talk in just a second. I'll close this out. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
All right. So. All right, everyone. As always, we want to, we wanted to, of course, give Marquise a shout out. So if you did the opportunity, go to his Twitch. Make sure you like and share this video, because I think it's a great way to introduce people to what is happening and what they think may be happening and all of those things. If you are somebody listening to my voice, watching this, and you have some mysteries, or you want answers, or you want to be part of what we're doing in some capacity, like I say, go to whythebigsecret.com. There's all kind of contact information and all of that stuff. So just as much as they're making contact, you're going to have to make contact. But in the meantime, I like to say that, I love all of you. I really do. It is some arrows that I do take in some capacity. I do leave myself vulnerable to attack in some areas, even as I sat forward here being the big guy, right? But I can care less about all of that, because I do believe that change is happening right before our eyes. And I've always said, your eyes, is useless when your mind is blind. Because if your mind is not where it needs to be, I don't care what you see, you're not going to comprehend it. You're not going to understand it. And it can be standing right in front of you. But my job is simple, is to bring the collective together. My job is simple, to get people to begin to start the conversation. My job is simple, to allow people to express themselves, that they're feeling something that they can't talk about. And my job is simple, is to help people, that it all becomes so freaking hard though, right? But I'm hoping that when you hear stories like Marquise, other stories that I'm going to bring to you one by one, that we get past the talk of, is it a black thing or a white thing? No, it's just, we're going to focus on an area, like I said, that's not being represented, it's disproportionately talked about in all of that. But we can't get people to come forward as if it's not a place for them to feel safe about it. That's all I got to say. And to my haters, if you can hate me without knowing me, I can love you without ever meeting you. And I don't want to meet you, but I will say I love you, because you need to be loved. If you can hate me, you need to be loved. You really do. Unless you're the she-wolf, then she has right to do that. With that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you. Love to my peeps, my show producers, the researchers, which is Nicole Walters out there, I'll make sure I do that. Walters, and then Lonnie and everyone else. And so that's just my moment. And let me get y'all out of here from there. Good night, everyone.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.